You know? I ain't no part of no politics. I don't care about that shit. I'd rather not know about that shit.
Okay, so I happened to come across this video. Diana, this is nothing against you. I just happened to see the video. I've seen a lot of your videos, actually. I don't follow you or anything like that because that's not usually our genre. It's not usually what we talk about. However, this video caught my attention because I actually paid attention to the whole video. And you mentioned that you were not politicking. However, this is just my observation. I did notice that in your few profiles, you do help me out here. You do have the
well, you have the 14 in your name there.
Yes, and like the XIV and things like that. So I'm not sure, but that kind of looks like politicking. It kind of looks like, you know, you're repping a certain
I'm not sure if you're from Northern California.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
We are.
It doesn't make a difference
No.
anyways. But just when you mentioned that about the politicking, and then you mentioned about, you know, snakes, sheep, something like that.
Also about that something about like you're not politicking, and yeah, they do live a different world in there, of course, and you shouldn't be trusting other prison wives. With the prison community, also, what else?
Yes.
And then you had mentioned that you said you weren't talking about disrespecting big homies, but I mean, you do say, oh, fuck the politics, and I don't give a fuck about that shit. That can be taken like as an offense, offensive, and
things get around,
misconstrued.
I'm not sure. I mean, you mentioned that the female or whatever, she happened to her man happened to be with your man or something like that. That's what I meant. That's what I understood in the video.
In the same prison.
However, it's just like us. You know, we have a lot of friends everywhere, and believe it or not, things always make it to the prison. So you have to be very careful what you say and how you word things because they can be misconstrued in any which way.
And I did see a video prior back that he did mention something about like he didn't give a fuck about people's statuses in the prison, who's big homies and who's not. So I can understand where that can be considered disrespectful.
Yes.
And yes, it is disrespecting big homies or whatnot, like that are in there.
You're going to take it however you like.
Yeah.
However, it just happened to see this video. It caught my attention. I mean, you're a beautiful lady. You said you still yourself in other videos. You admire beauty. So I do admire your beauty. However, just when I heard that stuff, though, because we do talk to so many different people and so many walks of life, I'm like, oh, okay, this is something we can kind of speak on because we have had some interactions like that. Like, for example, with the prison wife community. I don't have anything against the prison wife community. However, I do notice that the women are very quick to link up with other women.
Yes.
And there's been a bunch of drama throughout the years about, oh, I didn't know the charges that her man had, and I didn't know that...
Yeah, those are just examples.
Or I didn't know that my man... So whatever he's into is a rival to these women that I speak with. And so then that's where it can get tricky too.
Yes, of course.
And I know it's very different from, I don't know about prison because I've never been in prison. I know you mentioned, you said you did, I don't know how many years you said you did. But as far as I know from people who I've spoken to, that the women's prisons are very different than the men. So
they don't politic like the men.
I'm not sure.
That's what...
I don't think women care as much like who's connected to who, but in the men's prisons, yes, that could be bad. That could be, so I can understand where, you know, you said your guy came at you or told you to cut it out or whatever.
Well, absolutely, because it's common sense. And I've heard a lot of women in the prison community talking about they don't politic and this and that. But then, like, for example, you have the 14 in your name, right? But then when things go down, it seems like then right away they're like, oh, we don't politic. We don't give a fuck about what our men are doing in there or what they're a part of. Well, actually, it's very important because you love that person or your loved one. You are for them. You do support them. So it's kind of like you are politicking. What would you say about that? Well, I'm just saying,
again, based on what, again, I don't know you. I just happen to see a few of your videos.
But you did say that that's a rule out here about if you're beefing with another woman and your men are in the same prison, that's a big no-no. Well, that's politicking. It's out here on the street
because, again, they might be from the same team.
And it affects them in
different areas or something like that.
Yes.
And that's where I can see because, you know, back then or whatever, you're not supposed to, like, right hand's not supposed to know what the left hand's doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If that gives an example. But, yeah, so that's all I just want to talk about because we do talk about this a lot. And I always have that same question for the prison wives. And we never get a response. And if we do get a response, it's a very negative
very
one.
catty.
Yes, and it has nothing, it doesn't stay on point.
No.
So good luck to you. However, maybe you should reconsider just now that you know, be very careful again. And that I'm glad you're speaking on that
Yes.
because you are a prison wife. Like you said, you've been in this relationship for I don't know how many years. And I think you said you were going to meet the guy or you were going to see the guy. I don't know. I saw a video or something like that. And then I guess you had some issues with somebody, or I had some other ladies talking about you, but I don't know what that was about.
There's a lot of drama, I guess.
So that's where I could see where the drama can start.
Yeah, and then there's some ladies that I've seen also, I just don't understand it. Like, they talk all this crap on social media is what I'm saying. And there you do glorify, you know, their men being in there, and they throw that around. But then, like, when shit gets hot, they're like, oh, we don't politic. We're just women. We don't give a fuck about what they politic in there. But it's like, kind of, like, it's a lot of shit talking on social media. If you have a loved one in prison, I mean, especially if they belong to certain organizations.
What
I think
happened
that's
to code of conduct? I guess
yeah.
that's where my big thing is. Like, what happened to code of conduct? Like, why do people gotta be talking about this? Certain things should remain private. That's just my opinion on it.
And also about not mentioning the loved one's government name. I mean, people read. I mean,
it doesn't take 2 and 2 to figure out. I mean, all you gotta do is go on the BOP. So for
depending on where they're at, right? Like if they're
it doesn't matter. Like regardless, like
yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like if somebody really
sense.
wants to know, they will ask. They're like, oh, that's that lady. What's her? Find out. And it's very simple.
And you did say that, yeah, they do their homework, right? Of course,
Right,
everyone's supposed to ask questions.
Yes,
especially with the prison community, with the
and especially depending
right?
again. Let's go back to that. Depending on the tiers of levels of whatever the person might be involved in.
You mean like the rankings?
Yes.
If we're
I'm not going to get too much into
we're,
it, but you know that I have seen where things like that can be bad, and it can go bad.
And a lot of women,
and it can affect the guys in there at the end of the day.
Yes,
it can affect their
but the
visits.
problem is
It can affect their
muchas de las viejas
calls.
andan chismeando out here,
Yes.
and they're like, I wouldn't even, you know how they put it? They put it out there like they're showing their husbands or loved ones, whatever,
Right.
and they're like hell of I would say like using glorifying, but like using scare tactics and like kind of like showing off, like, oh, my man did this and he's doing that and he's a big one.
You are.
No, we're not saying
you are.
But then like they're like, oh, we don't politic. We're not. That's just where I'm a little confused about it because.
But I'm glad you're speaking on it, and again, good luck to you, and hopefully that'll all get cleared out, and hopefully you'll keep talking on that because that's a good topic. I think a lot of these women need to really know what they're into.
Yeah, like you said, it was affecting your man in there. Of course, it's a different world.
You got to remember, those CEOs are reading your letters. They're listening to your calls.
Oh yeah, and
everything is screened before it gets into your loved one's
Of course,
hands.
everyone's on social media now, especially TikTok, everywhere.
Yes.
So it's not, it's things circulate, and they do make it to all the prisons.
Yes, they do.
Believe it or not. People hear things,
Oh, yeah.
Bad news travels fast.
Right?
So si te dijo your man to cut it out, well, yeah.
Para bailar la bamba. Have a good night.